Hey, fifth grade, happy Friday. I hope you guys are having a good week so far and that you've been doing your best to help out at home and to keep up with your schoolwork. A few updates for you. First, please make sure you're on Jupiter every day. We're looking to see you have to log on every day to get your communication from your teachers. Second, you have a vocab quiz today. Just from taking the quiz, I'm going to give you 3 extra credit points just for doing it. So you're already starting off with a good grade. Try your best to complete that. It is on the Google Classroom under the Classwork tab. Shout out to my friends like Talaya and Dylan T, who have found creative ways to be working really, really hard and keeping up with their work. Shout out to Andrew's family, who has a lot to celebrate this week. And I want you guys to know that it's officially iced coffee season. So I am a super happy camper because I have iced coffee in my life. Today we're going to read 10 more pages of our adventures with Jeannie and Ernie and their grandparents. And I'm excited to see you guys work on those comprehension questions. Before we start reading, I want to just review one more time about what TAG is. TAG really is the only way to answer a comprehension question. If you answer a comprehension question without using TAG, you're not doing the full mental process to make sure that you understand your reading. When you do TAG, you turn the question into an answer the question, and give evidence. For example, an answer might say, Grandpa wears his sunglasses all the time because he is blind. I know this because on page 56, the author states, Grandpa wears his glasses because he's blind. You're giving what the evidence is, where you're finding it, and you're referring to the question in the answer. If you just give me an answer that says, because he's blind, page 56, that doesn't tell me that your brain is fully understanding this. So please, please, please be your own teacher, challenge yourself, and push yourself to use TAG. If you also have been a great helper and you're helping your younger siblings out with their work, it could be really cool for you to teach them TAG so that they learn it before 5th grade. You could help them to be the head of their class by the time that they get up to St. James School age. Today we're going to be on page 107 and we'll read until page 117. Right now, Jeannie has left his room in the middle of the night because he has to go to the bathroom. The only bathroom is downstairs by the kitchen. We're going to start where it says click, clack, clack. What kind of figurative language is that? Click, clack, clack. Yes, dear. What is it? Correct, an automatopoeia. Can everyone please say that? Wonderful. Here we go. It was too loud to be a mouse. Jeannie peeked around the corner, and even though he couldn't see anything in the dark, he could tell there was somebody sitting at the table. Hello? He whispered, nervous, slinking through the living room. He didn't want to pop out and just scare whoever it was. Jeannie? It was Grandpop. Sorry, I just have to pee, Jeannie said, sliding through the kitchen and onto the bathroom. 16 steps, 17 and a half for Jeannie. When he came out, he asked Grandpop why he was still up. Maybe Grandma snored loud too. Not really sleepy. The rain that does that to me keeps me awake. Jeannie could smell that liquor smell again. Me too, he said, even though if it wasn't for him having to pee, he probably would have been asleep. Too much thunder. Oh, and a brainful of pistol and broken truck. Grandpop kicked the chair out from under the table so that Jeannie could sit. It was dark, but after a few seconds, Jeannie's eyes adjusted and he could see his grandfather. Not like see him, but see him enough to know that he didn't have on a shirt and that there was a glass, a bottle, and some kind of container in front of him on the table. Here, have some ice cream, Grandpop said, pushing the carton Jeannie's way. It'll help you feel better about the truck. Plus, it's going to melt anyway. Grandpop wiped a spoon off with a napkin and held it out. Jeannie took it, more than a little nervous. About Grandpop knowing about what had happened to Uncle Wood's fire engine model. Jeannie wanted to say something about it, but his nerves got the best of him. Grandpop, who had gone back to clicking whatever he was clicking, somehow realized Jeannie wasn't eating the ice cream yet. He stopped what he was doing. Seriously, son, it was an accident. Grandma will be fine. She's okay. Jeannie thought that he saw Grandpop smirk, but he wasn't sure. But he definitely heard it in his voice. Then Grandpop got back to the click-clack business. So, of course, Jeannie finally dug the spoon into the carton. He asked, "What you doing?" Grandpop didn't answer. Now he was screwing something too. Was it his harmonica? "Grandpop, what's that?" Jeannie asked, remixing the original question. Grandpop sighed like he really didn't want to talk about it, which made Jeannie feel bad for asking. But then Grandpop took a sip from his glass and said, "A revolver. You know what that is?" That wasn't at all what Jeannie was expecting him to say, and in that moment, he was super happy that Grandpop couldn't see, because Jeannie's eyes were bugging. A revolver? Like a gun? Jeannie wondered if it was the same pistol he had seen in Grandpop's waistband earlier in the day. He had never seen a whole one, and he definitely never seen one all in pieces. "Yep, the one you asked about earlier," Grandpop said, like it was no big deal. He screwed something else and then click-clacked it some more. "Why you break it?" Jeannie asked, scooping out a fat frozen strawberry. Best part. "It ain't broken," Grandpop explained. "It's called disassembling. It's something we used to do all the time when I was working. Not with this kind of gum, but the same deal. I've taken it all apart and now I'm putting it all back together." Jeannie thought that was weird. He had never heard of anyone taking a gun apart. "Why are you doing that?" A thunderclap rocked the house again. This time, Jeannie barely jumped, but Grandpop jumped big time. "Thunder's gonna be the death of me," Grandpop muttered. He took a quick sip from his glass and then got back to the question. "I do it just to make sure I still can." "Oh." Jeannie thought about what Ernie had said about him wearing shades, just part of Grandpop's life. I mean, not Grandpop wearing shades, but Grandpop being a shooter. Jeannie thought about how he wouldn't mind it being a part of his life, too. So he asked, "Well, can I help?" "No," Grandpop said, steely. Jeannie decided maybe he had asked too many questions this time. Grandpop clicked one last time, locking something in place. Then he twisted the skinny screwdriver a few more times. There it is. He set the gun on the table in one piece. Jeannie thought about reaching out and touching it. After all, how would Grandpop know? "Don't even think about it," Grandpop said. He knew! Dang! The rain kept pouring and beating against the windows. Grandpop and Jeannie sat there for a few minutes, quiet. Jeannie was waiting, hoping for Grandpop to calm down. And in the meantime, like the meantime, Jeannie continued eating the ice cream, which now melted into strawberry milk, which was just as good until a low robotic voice cut through the silence with, "The time is 10:28 p.m. "What's that?" Jeannie asked. "Just the clock. Thankfully, it takes batteries." Grandpop's left hand was on the clock that he had been listening to earlier. "Just checking the time," he said, pressing the button again. His voice back to its regular gruff tone, not its annoyed gruff tone. A subtle difference, but a big deal. After the clock repeated, 10:28 p.m., Jeannie asked another burning question. "So, remember today when you were saying how there's a different number of steps to your room and to the bathroom and all that?" "Yeah, I remember." "Well, what about outside? Do you ever go out?" Grandpop brushed his face with his hand. It sounded like someone was tearing paper. "Not really," he said. "I mean, I go from the door to the car and from the car to the doctor's door and back, and that's pretty much it. Shoot, I don't even remember the last time I played with Samantha." "Why not?" Jeannie asked. "Good question," Grandpop said. Jeannie didn't think it was that great of a question. Not nearly as good as, "Can I help?" But Grandpop blew a hard breath and went on. "I'm going to tell you a secret, but you promise you'll never tell nobody. Got it?" He's going to tell me a secret? Nobody ever told Jeannie secrets. Seemed like people were always keeping secrets from him. At least his parents were. Promise, Jeannie said. He was all ears. I don't go outside because, well, I guess I'm a little concerned. Concerned? Jeannie repeated. Grandpop cleared his throat. See, inside, I know where everything is. But outside, I don't know where nothing is. Things move on their own. Then there's that big old hill. If I lost my bearings and I fell down that, it would probably be my last fall. Too many surprises for an old man that lives in the dark. You know what I mean? That led Jeannie to figure out that concerned was grown-up code for scared. Yeah, but you never I don't know, just walk around in your yard? Not all the way to the edge, but just a little bit? Because if I had a big yard like this back home, I'd be in it all the time, even if I was blind, Jeannie said. Grandpop cocked his head. Is that so? Jeannie wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. Yup. Well, I guess I gotta figure out how to get as brave as you, Littlewood. That's the first time that we've seen the book's title used. And notice that it's in the same sentence that Grandpop's calling Jeannie Littlewood. Jeannie didn't know what to say to that, so he just sat there wondering what it must be like to be trapped in a house. Never even to get to play with your own dog. Grandpop sat there quiet too, until Jeannie started to get a little sleepy. But he didn't want to go back to bed just yet. Not until Grandpop was ready. The rain always gets me, Grandpop said out of nowhere. He rubbed his hand up and down over his face just like Dad did whenever he was tired after an overnight shift at the firehouse, but had to stay awake while Ma caught him up on all the stuff that Jeannie and Ernie had been up to. Senior, I know you're tired, but let me tell you about your youngest son, she would say. And while Dad wiped his face with his hand from top to bottom over and over again. What do you mean? Jeannie now asked Grandpop. The rain gets you? How? It just makes me think about Wood. He was born on a rainy day, and even though it was ugly out, it was the happiest day of my life. Grandpop lifted his glass and then put it right back down. Jeannie could tell by the way it sounded when it hit the table that it was empty. Huh, that must be what it's like to be blind. You see things the way they sound. Grandpop continued, and he was buried on a rainy day. I remember every drop feeling like a bomb falling down on me. He sighed, grabbed his bottle, and poured himself another glass. It's been 25 years, but every time it rains, I think about my boy. What war was he in? Jeannie's dad made them all have a long moment of silence every Memorial Day, but Jeannie couldn't remember him ever going into the particulars. Grandpop sipped and swallowed. Desert Storm. We only lost about 150 men. That's it. And my boy, my son, was... The words became clay in Grandpop's throat. And before Jeannie could pick up where Grandpop left off and ask anything else, or maybe even get into Grandpop and Dad's strange and strained relationship after Wood's death, Grandpop reached over and hit whatever button on the clock triggered that robot voice. The time is 10:54 p.m. Grandpop put his hands on Jeannie's shoulder, which was still such a surprise to Jeannie that Grandpop could know where it was, as the old clock repeated itself. 10:54 p.m. I think the rain's starting to let up. You should head on back to bed now, Littlewood, Grandpop suggested. Jeannie could tell the conversation was over, but the rain wasn't letting up at all. That's where we're going to stop today. On Monday, we'll start with reading chapter 7. By Monday, you should have completed the comprehension questions for chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Good luck on your vocab exam. Have glorious weekends, and I'll see you guys again on the internet on Monday. Bye.